Hey friends, how are you today? I'm so excited to see you. I miss you so much. Today we are going to do an art project that is inspired by a book. We are going to read the book called The Big Orange Splot. We're going to talk about it a little bit, and then we are going to make a stand-up street. Can you guess which house is mine? Okay, now try not to get dizzy while I turn the camera around so that you can see our street. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is called The Big Orange Splot, and it's by Daniel Pinkwater. This story is about a man named Mr. Plumbean who lives on a street where everyone's house looks the same. Let's listen and find out how Mr. Plumbean changed that. The Big Orange Splot. This book was written for Estelle Schultz. Mr. Plumbean lived on a street where all the houses were the same. See how they all look exactly the same? He liked it that way, and so did everyone else on Mr. Plumbean's street. This is a neat street, they would say. Then one day, a seagull flew over Mr. Plumbean's house. He was carrying a can of bright orange paint, and no one knows why. And he dropped the can, no one knows why, right over Mr. Plumbean's house. It made a big orange splot on Mr. Plumbean's house. Oh, too bad, everybody said. Mr. Plumbean will have to paint his house again. I suppose I will, said Mr. Plumbean, but he didn't paint his house right away. He looked at the big orange splot for a long time, then he went about his business. Well, the neighbors got tired of seeing that big orange splot. Someone said, Mr. Plumbean, we wish you'd get around to painting your house. Okay, said Mr. Plumbean. He got some blue paint and some white paint, and that night he got busy. He painted at night because it was cooler. When the paint was gone, the roof was blue, the walls were white, and the big orange splot was still there. Then he got some more paint. He got red paint, yellow paint, green paint, and purple paint. In the morning, the other people on the street came out of their houses. Their houses were all the same, but Mr. Plumbean's house was like a rainbow. It was like a jungle. It was like an explosion. I bet you know which house belongs to Mr. Plumbean. There was the big orange splot. And there were little orange spots. There were stripes. There were pictures of elephants and lions and pretty girls and steam shovels. The people said, Plumbean has popped his cork, flipped his wig, blown his stack, and dropped his stopper. They went away muttering. That day, Mr. Plumbean bought a carpenter's tools. That night, he built a tower on top of his roof, and he painted a clock on the tower. Use your imagination. What's his house going to look like now when I turn the page? There's the tower with the clock. The next day the people said, Plumbean has gushed his mush, lost his marbles, and slipped his howser. They decided they would pretend not to notice. Well, the neighbors decided to pretend not to notice. Do you think that ignoring a problem is a good idea? What's another way of dealing with something that you don't like or that you disagree with? Think about that. That very night, Mr. Plumbean got a truck full of green things. He planted palm trees, baobabs, thorn bushes, onions, and frangipani. In the morning, he bought a hammock and an alligator. When the other people came out of their houses, they saw Mr. Plumbean swinging in a hammock between two palm trees. There he is. They saw an alligator lying in the grass, and Mr. Plumbean was drinking lemonade. Scoot that over so you can see the picture a little better. There's Mr. Plumbean in his hammock. There's the alligator. Plumbean has gone too far. This used to be a neat street. Plumbean, what have you done to your house? The people shouted. My house is me and I am it. My house is where I like to be and it looks like all my dreams, Mr. Plumbean said. The people went away. They asked the man who lives next door to Mr. Plumbean to go and have a talk with him. Tell him that we all liked it here before he changed his house. Tell him that his house has to be the same as ours so we can have a neat street. What do you think his neighbor should do? Should his neighbor go and talk to him like all the other neighbors want him to? What do you think he would say to him? Let's find out. The man went to see Mr. Plumbean that evening. They sat under the palm trees drinking lemonade and talking all night. Boy, I wonder what they're talking about. Oh, look at the alligator. He's sleeping. I love details like that. Early the next morning, the man went out to get lumber and rope and nails and paint. When the people came out of their houses, they saw a red and yellow ship next door to the house of Mr. Plumbean. What have you done to your house? They shouted at the man. My house is me and I am it. My house is where I like to be and it looks like all my dreams, said the man who had always loved, you guessed it, ships. He's just like Plumbean, the people said. He's got bees in his bonnet, bats in his belfry, and knots in his noodle. They think he's kind of crazy. Then one by one, they went to see Mr. Plumbean late at night. They would sit under the palm trees and drink lemonade and talk about their dreams. And whenever anybody visited Mr. Plumbean's house, the very next day that person would set about changing his own house to fit his dreams. What do you think this person's dream was? How about this person's? How about these people? Whenever a stranger came to the street of Mr. Plumbean and his neighbors, the stranger would say, "This is not a neat street." Then all the people would say, "Our street is us and we are it. Our street is where we like to be and it looks like all our dreams." Now remember, at the beginning of the story, we listened to find out how Mr. Plumbean helped the street change from neat to not neat. What did he do? Think about it. Here's another thing to think about. Is it okay to be different? Is there a time when it's okay to be the same? Those are questions you can think about. Now, after I was finished reading this book, I thought about those questions, but I also thought about doing an art project. So our art project today is going to be to make a street like Mr. Plumbean's street, only after he talked to everybody about their dreams. So I bet you can guess which of these houses is my dream house. Of course, it's the one with all the art supplies. So I want to talk to you about how to make this house, this street. This is a stand-up project, so I'll show you how to make that happen. Okay? So I'm going to put this off to the side. And for this project, you are going to need a piece of paper. If you have heavier paper, that would work better. And you will also need a pencil, a Sharpie, and then whatever it is you would like to color your houses with. So I just used marker. If you would like to use crayon, you can use crayon. If you would like to paint your houses, you could also do that. The last thing you're going to need is a piece of cardboard. So I just used a cereal box here, okay, and I'll show you how we're going to use that. You might need a little bit of tape too. Okay, so let's get started with drawing our houses. Now remember, my inspiration for this project came from the book, and that means that's where I got my idea, but I don't want to copy the pictures exactly. I'm going to change it up a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by drawing my street. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fingers down here, 2 fingers up, and make a dot. And I would like my dot to go all the way across. Okay, this is going to be my street. And if it's not perfectly straight, that is A-okay. Because remember, nothing is perfect. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to draw my houses. Okay, now because of the size of the paper, and I would like my houses to be pretty big, big enough so that I can add all these fun details, I'm going to have 3 houses. Okay, and I don't want my houses to be the same like they were at the beginning of the book. I want my houses to be different. Now, you can make 2 of your houses be the same if you want and make your dream house be different, or you can make all of your houses be different. Of course, I wanted all of my houses to be different because I just thought that was really interesting. Okay, so what you're going to do is think about, maybe put your hand here and then you'll draw one line. Now, if you want your houses to be straight, then you will draw a straight line. If you want them to be a little bit leany, like mine, that means they're going to be leaning a little bit, okay? Then you will draw some diagonal lines, but not too diagonal. So I'm going to make 1 diagonal line, so that house is going to be sort of skinny right there. And I'll just make 1 straight line just so you can see, okay? I'm not making them all the way to the top because I want to leave room for the roof. I'm going to scoot this up just a little bit so you can see my whole paper, okay? Just give me 1 second there. Okay, so I need to leave some room for my roof here. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my houses with a straight line. Well, it doesn't have to be straight. It can start like this, but you need to connect your houses. You could start up here if you wanted your roof line to be perfectly straight. Okay, so I'm going to connect, and I'm going to make this one just kind of go like that. Right, so there's my first house, my second house, and my last house. Okay, now you're going to think about what kind of a roof you would like to put on each of your houses. So I have some ideas here. So you could make a roof that's a triangle. You could make a roof that's sort of like, I think that's called a trapezoid. Or you could make a roof that has some curvy lines. You can do a combination of these, or you can make them all the same. Then you can add some chimneys if you would like. Now remember, you can always pause the video so you could look at those options while you're getting ready to make yours, okay? All right, so I'm going to make, I think I'm going to make 1 roof that's a triangle, and I'm going to make 1 roof that has those curvy lines like that, and I'm going to connect that, and then I'll make 1 roof that is that trapezoid shape. Okay. All right, so there are my 3 houses, and now I need to think about, do I want to put some chimneys on all of them, or just 1 of them, or 2 chimneys on this one maybe? I think I'm going to put a chimney that's leaning to the side on this one because I think that would just look really fun. And I'll just put 1 chimney in the middle here, okay? And then I'll just leave this one. Now, you need to think about which house is going to be the house that is your dream house, okay? When I made mine, I made my middle house be my dream house, but it could be any of the houses that you want, okay? All right, so I think on this one, I'm going to make this last one be my dream house. So I'm going to make my chimney look like a pencil, okay? All right. So then you need to think about what kinds of patterns you might want to put in your roof. So I have some pattern and texture ideas here. Now, you know, when we are making this project, we are using a lot of the elements of art. So we're using the element of line when we are drawing our houses. And remember, the elements of art are what artists use to make their picture. Those are like the ingredients that they use when they are creating their art. So we're using the element of line, but we're also using the element of shape when we make the shapes for our houses. And some of our shapes are going to be organic. So if I look on here, like my paint palette's an organic shape, and some of our shapes are going to be geometric, like the shape of this trapezoid. Okay, so you're going to be using the element of line, shape, and of course you're also going to be using the element of color when you decide how you're going to color it. And last, you're going to use the element of texture actually when you are drawing some of the patterns on your house so that it looks a little bit like how it might feel. Okay, so I have lots of ideas here, but I know that you'll have some of your own ideas too, so you only need to look at this if you are running out of ideas. But if you need ideas for patterns, you can also look all around you, even on your clothes. You might have some interesting patterns, so think about what patterns you might want to use, okay? And you'll use those patterns to decorate just your roof right now. So I think I'll make this roof, maybe have something like this, and for this roof I think I would make some scallops like this, okay? And I'm going really quickly here because I want to make sure that we have enough time to finish this project. And then for my dream house, let's see, maybe I'll make a roof that looks like this. Remember, this is just for fun. It is your art, so anything that you want, you can make, do it any way that you like, okay? All right, so there's our roof. Now we need to start thinking about doors and windows. So I have some ideas for doors and windows as well. So here are some window ideas. You could make a window with some shutters or maybe a blind. You can make windows that are any shape, because I mean, look at mine. I made windows in my scissor handles. So you can use your imagination to think about what you could use for windows. So for example, if you made a house of candy, maybe you would do lollipop windows or something, okay? So you'll want to add your windows, and I'm just going to add some pretty simple windows over here. I'm going to make this one a little crazy just because of the way the house is leaning. And maybe I'll do a shape like this for this house. Oh my gosh, that kind of looks like eyes, doesn't it? That's so fun. And then for this house, that's my dream house, maybe I'll make some paint palette windows for this house. Okay, there's one paint palette, and there's my other paint palette. Okay. All right, and you might want to add some details, or you will want to add some details to your windows, like window panes or curtains or something like that, okay? Then the last thing you need to add would be your doors. So here are some ideas for doors. Remember, you can always pause the video at any time. So here are some ideas for doors, and you can use these, or of course, make your own, whatever your dream house is going to look like. Nobody's is going to be the same. So I'm just going to add some real simple doors here just because I don't want to run out of time. So I'll just add a real simple door here, and even for this one, let's see, maybe I'll add a door like this, and I would color each of those a different color just for fun. It can kind of look like a paint tray. Okay, now once you are finished drawing, and I would of course add a lot more details, you can see that oh wait, we forgot to add our patterns to the house. Okay, so when I did my house here, for my dream house, I did a pattern of dripping paint. And then for this house, I just did some stripes, and for this house, I just did some polka dots. So think about what pattern you would like for your house. You can go and look at patterns again, or remember, look all around you. Patterns are everywhere, even on the bottom of your shoe or on some fabric, maybe your bedspread, anything, okay? So always be on the lookout for inspiration. So let's see, maybe I'll do a zigzag pattern for this house. And maybe I'll do some lines like this for this house. Okay, whatever you want. It adds a lot of interest to your art, okay? All right, so I've got those patterns going, and of course for this house, I think I would like to do stripes like this, and I would color them like the rainbow. Okay? All right. So once you have your drawing done and you have colored it. Remember, you can use crayon, you can use marker, paint, whatever you would like. Then we are going to get ready to make your house stand up. So the first thing you'll need to do is get yourself a piece of cardboard. This is one of those many pieces of cardboard that I saved from all the cereal that my husband eats. And you need to cut it so it's about the same size as your paper. If it's a little bit smaller, that's okay. And then do you see where this road is? You need to fold right on that road. And what I like to do is I like to fold it. I like to be able to see where this line is right here and then fold right on that line. Okay? So now you can see what I have. Okay, it's folded right here. Then you also need to fold your cardboard. You can see I already folded this one, okay? And a little tip on folding cardboard, because sometimes folding cardboard can be tricky. If you put your ruler down here, you can fold the cardboard right on your ruler, and then it's a little bit straighter, and it will stay folded, okay? The other thing you can do is if you put it up and it wants to fall down, the other thing you can do is take a pair of scissors to make your fold really strong and just push the scissors down. Now, if we were at school, I would be helping you with that part, with keeping with your fold on your cardboard. So if you have trouble with that, you might need to ask an adult to help you, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to take some glue. A glue stick is just fine. If you don't have a glue stick, you can use Elmer's, but a glue stick works just fine, and it's a little bit easier. It gives you a little bit of a smoother finish there. Oop. This is Parker. Get it together. Okay, and then you need to match this part, this bend, with this bend. They're going to just fit together like a puzzle, okay? And of course, give it a massage. Make sure everything is stuck, okay? And then it will stand, okay? So hopefully you can kind of see. Let me move the camera a little bit so you can see that it's standing. That probably wasn't the best. Maybe if I turn it, you can. No, we'll just put it this way. Now, a couple of things you could do. If an adult is around and they can help you, you can take an X-Acto knife and cut to be able to open the doors. If you wanted to, you could make some little people and put them behind the doors. Okay, that is totally up to you. Those are just some ideas to add to your project if you want. Now, if your project wants to tip over, this one is okay. If you do it the way I told you to, and you fold the paper and then you fold the cardboard and then you glue them together, it should stay pretty well. But when I did this one, I had to add a little bit on the back, okay? So let me show you what I did here, because it didn't want to stand up. It just wanted to flop over. So what I did was I took a strip of cardboard and another strip of cardboard, just a skinny strip, and then a larger strip. I taped this larger strip to my piece right here, and then I just added these on. Okay, so you can see that they kind of hold it up. Make sure you have a good view of that. Okay, I just taped them, and then they help, and then it stays up with no problem at all. Okay, so let me see if I can turn the camera so you can see how it looks. I apologize for this. And you're getting a good view of my room, huh? Okay, so there's what it looks like when it's standing up. Okay, and you can see where the doors are. You could cut the doors open. If I had a round door like this, I would not cut it at the bottom. I would cut right here and then flip it down. Okay, but you could cut this one like this and then open it up. That is totally up to you. Okay. Friends, I hope you have fun with this project. I thought it was really fun. I enjoyed making a house that would show my dreams. And I want you guys to know that I miss you so much, and I'll straighten myself out so you don't get dizzy. If you're in my class, you know that I'm not always on top of the technology, but hey, that's okay. And I miss you guys so much. I cannot wait to see you again, and I hope you have fun with this project. Bye-bye.